What's up guys, Eli here, back for a new stuff video. All music today, all CDs, and pretty much all metal, progressive rock, stuff like that. It's a pretty good stack, so let's check it out. I think we'll start off with some prog type stuff, get that out of the way, because I know most of you guys aren't super into it, but we have from 2004, we have King Crimson, USA. This is a live album. Fun fact about this album, roughly 98 versions were put out. It's kind of doesn't make sense for it's not even that old of an album, but King Crimson are, at this point, I've grown to really, really love. They're becoming one of my favorite prog bands, and one of the absolute best live bands in history. Just fucking amazing. They play their songs differently live. They would just kind of deconstruct them, play them in different ways. Sometimes every show they would play different shit. It's just pretty impressive. So I have this Universal / Discipline Global mobile version, which came with this cool OBI strip. This is actually a really cool release, which I ordered this off Discogs, and I did not know that it was going to look like this. It's literally like a vinyl replica. Got that booklet. Got some other odds and ends. Book of Saturday, Part 9. A little picture of what the LP looked like. You got this. Pretty cool, all in Japanese. And you got the disc itself that literally comes in a mini vinyl inner sleeve. And you pull the disc out, and pretty fucking cool, right? It even comes with an anti-static sleeve, which I didn't actually notice until just now. Anyways, King Crimson, absolutely amazing. Then I have Vangelis, the famous Greek composer, one of my favorite songwriters ever, basically. Not metal, surprisingly enough, but this is a 1990 album called The City. Now you might have noticed, I've talked about Vangelis on this channel numerous times. You might have noticed that I called him Vangelis. I called him Vangelis for probably the last 15 years because I didn't know it was actually pronounced Vangelis. So, I will be correcting that from here out. This is original pressing, BMG version. Haven't listened to it yet, but I love Vangelis. He has so many albums. I'll never have them all. I don't know if I need them all, but I've for the last 10, 15 years, anytime I see his stuff, I pick it up regardless of whether I know about it or not. And I've liked everything I've ever heard from him, so I am definitely a fan. From 2003, I have this kind of best of comp called Odyssey, the definitive collection. So I don't usually buy like greatest hits and collections and stuff like that, because usually it's just a bunch of songs that are on albums you probably already have. They're pointless unless you're just kind of trying to get into a band that you don't know much about. Then they're kind of useful. But I bought this because it has unreleased tracks. Yeah, it's got 2 unreleased tracks. And it has 2 bonus tracks, which is John and Vangelis songs, which was the project between Vangelis and John Anderson of Yes. So I found this worth picking up just for that reason. And I might not own all the stuff that's on here anyways, but it's got stuff from kind of just spanning his career. It's got stuff from his Antarctica soundtrack, the China soundtrack. It's got stuff from the Blade Runner soundtrack. Of course, Chariots of Fire soundtrack, because that was a big deal for him. It's cool. It's a nice career-spanning little set. Then, as I mentioned in my last video, I would be getting this in the mail soon. Disc 1 of Black Sabbath Live Evil from 1982. Almost no point in showing this, because I showed Disc 2 in my last video, and it's the same cover art. There's the track listing for you. So this is the era of Black Sabbath that had Ronnie James Dio on vocals and Vinny Appice on drums. Classic live album, and I'm glad to finally have the complete album. Then we're going to be talking about Corrosion of Conformity, or COC as you might know them. Formed in 1982 in Raleigh, North Carolina, they started off basically being a hardcore band. They kind of soon became more of a crossover band, which is like a hardcore slash punk slash thrash metal. But the metal would kind of slowly take over, much to the chagrin of a lot of their fans. And then they kind of slowly became more of like a almost like a southern rock band at one point. So yeah, a lot of different changes in their lengthy discography. What I have here is something I've kind of always wanted to pick up and just never have. This is their EP from 1987. It's their third release, Technocracy. This is the last of the crossover material. Last time they would ever play that style of music. And yeah, I've actually never heard this. I've been a COC fan for about 20 years or so, and I've just never checked this out. But I'm super glad to have it. This is the special edition re-release with 4 added tracks, so that's pretty cool. Came out on Columbia and Metal Blade Records. One of the other albums of Corrosion of Conformity I never owned up until now. This is their 5th album from 1996. We're talking about, of course, Wiseblood. I've listened to this maybe 2 or 3 times over the years online, and I don't know, man, I've never really cared too much for it, but I know a lot of fans that do like this. This album would really kind of set the precedent for what would be coming soon after, especially on their next album. They started to be, so prior to this, they were playing more of a pretty heavy, pretty aggressive, heavy metal slash southern rock, stoner rock, whatever you want to call it. And it was a nice mix of sounds. They did it really well. This would see them go even more in the direction of their southern rock, more mainstream sounding, definitely more accessible. The album that would follow this was literally the pinnacle of their kind of mainstream friendly southern rock sound. That album I haven't heard in a long time. I'm not sure if it would sit very well with me at this point, but I'm stoked to get this a listen to and, to have it in my collection. So hopefully this is definitely something I would have liked probably 20 years ago, but I hope it resonates with me. I mean, I really like this band, even some of their more accessible stuff. I like a lot of that, so. Then we have the 3rd album from Archon and Faustus from France with Perdition Insanabilis. Yeah, we'll go with that. So Archon and Faustus were a black death metal band formed in France in 1987. This came out in 2004. I've never heard this album before, but I really dig this band. They just play a very, very nasty, violent, sadistic, kind of perverted black death metal. They had an album out in 2017. It might have been an EP, and prior to that, they hadn't had anything out for like 10 years. I can't remember. This might have been the last full length they did, and yeah, I've always just kind of wondered. I never did get that EP from 2017. I wanted to. It kind of just eluded me, and then we got 5 more years of them not doing anything. So I've always wondered what's up with this band. And next we're going to be talking about Necroblaspheme. They are a black death metal band out of France, formed in 1997. Formed in 2001. Sorry, this is their 2nd album from 2008, entitled Destination Nulle Part. Weird cover art. The presentation on this definitely didn't sell me, but the music did. So I was just talking about Archon and Faustus, and this band clearly could easily hang with Archon and Faustus. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if they knew each other, if they were friends. Describing their music, Archon and Faustus would be a very close comparison. Just they play that black death metal, not super raw, definitely not overproduced, but just very vicious, super nasty, perverted type lyrics. A lot of those French bands, man, they just play that sound so well. I'm kind of new to this band. I definitely would prefer Archon and Faustus, but I've heard a lot of good things about this band, and I'm definitely going to be listening more now that I have this album. It came out on Agonia Records, by the way. Then we have the only full-length from Woods of Belial. Woods of Belial are a band that formed in Finland in 1995. They're not active anymore, but they were formed by the two Sorvali cousins from Mood Sorrow, one of my favorite bands, Henry Sorvali and the other Sorvali guy. I can't remember his name right now, but so I've for a long time now I've had their two demos on a tape compilation. So I've never had this full length before, and I've never heard it yet. This came out in 2003. Demos 13. This came out on Firebox, which is a pretty well-known Finnish extreme metal label. So as far as what they sound like, they play kind of like a doomy industrial black metal. It's very noisy. It's very desperate sounding. Kind of unique. I mean, I guess if you took like a band like Nort from Denmark and kind of threw just a little bit of Mysticum in there, you might get a good idea of what Woods of Belial sound like. I would definitely recommend checking them out if you like industrial black metal, if you like kind of suicidal black doom sounding stuff. It's pretty good. I mean, those two guys are really talented, so I'm happy to have this. Then I'll be talking about Stormruler, a U.S. black metal band formed in St. Louis in 2019, and this is their debut full-length album from 2021. Came out on Napalm Records. Got Under the Burning Eclipse. Notice the really cool cover art. I really like it. I'll admit this is a hard sell for me. The logo and even the cover art, as much as I like it, it looked just kind of a little bit too polished for my black metal tastes. But as soon as I played the album, I kind of threw all that to the wind. I really enjoy this. They kind of sound mid-90s Sweden. Like if you were to take kind of mid-era dissection, maybe throw a little bit of Marduk in there, I think you'd get a good idea of what Stormruler sounds like. This is a really ambitious album, and there's 19 tracks on here. A lot of it, almost every other song is like an interlude. It's really good, really good, melodic, well played, almost technical sounding black metal. Then we're going to be talking about Fortid. Fortid were a black metal band formed in 2002 in Iceland. I have their debut album here from 2003. We're talking about Voluspa, Part 1, Thor's Anger. I have listened to this album ever since it came out, actually. I'm only just now getting a copy. It came out on No Colors Records, kind of a controversial label. This album, from what I've heard of their kind of later stuff, I think this is their best work, if you ask me. If you like early Enslaved, you miss Enslaved playing that cold black metal sound, cold, Viking type black metal. Fortid will definitely scratch that itch. I think this album is amazing. And it's got members of some of the earlier, really good Icelandic black metal bands like Curse, Thule, Potentium. So, I mean, I shouldn't need to say anything at this point after that. I mean, that should sell you, but if not, just go with the Enslaved recommendation and definitely get this album. Then we'll be talking about Horned God. Horned God are a death metal band formed in 2000 in Brazil. This is their second album from 2003, talking about chaos, bringer of all revelations. Got this OBI strip because this is a Russian release. And despite it being a Russian release, not to sound like a dick, this is an official release. It's not a bootleg. It came out on a Russian label called CD Maximum, which I have investigated in the past. It looks like they have put out some unofficial stuff, but most of their stuff is official, like 95%. But they have put out a couple of unofficial albums. This was licensed from Listenable Records. I've talked about that label out of France. Good metal label. So yeah, Horned God. This is just great album. If you like that early 2000s style of just like almost bestial sounding brutal death metal, think definitely Chrysian, Rebellion, and there's a handful of others that I can't really think about right now. But if you like that sound, man, Horned God will not disappoint you. And I like a lot of that early 2000s, even late 90s Brazilian shit. I mean, when has there not been good metal coming out of Brazil? But yeah, Horned God are no slouch. I would definitely recommend this. Like I said, this is their second album from 2003. I don't even know if they're still active anymore. If they are, it can't be that active. But yeah, look into it, man. Last but not least, we have the debut full length album from Canada's Cryptopsy. We all know Cryptopsy, formed in 1992 in Canada. This came out in '97. Technically, the debut album came out in '94, but this is a repress. This is a Displeased Records version. I definitely prefer the original cover art to what you get here, but that's okay. It's obviously, you want this for the music, and the music here is amazing. So yeah, for me, the first two Cryptopsy albums are definitely the best. I like a lot of what they did down the line, but this is the Lord Worm era. The crazy vocalist Lord Worm, one of the most insane vocalists in death metal. Um, yeah, these first two albums they're technical, very very brutal, but they're technical, but they're listenable, and they have songs. It's for me, it's death metal that has just the right amount of technicality. And I like some of their later super super technical stuff, but for me, this is just a perfect medium between brutal death metal and tech death. And Cryptopsy were easily one of the best bands to ever play that style. And from what I've noticed, they have kind of been returning to this sound lately, but I haven't been paying attention. Yeah, I hate to be one of those dicks that kind of abandoned them because they put out one bad album, but I did. That album for me was so bad that I really haven't paid attention to them since then. But from what I've been told, they are making efforts to return to that earlier sound, and I don't know. I'll probably check it out at some point. Anyways, what do you guys think? See any of your favorites there, or is there anything that you didn't know about and you plan on checking out? Let me know. Louis says hello, and we'll talk soon, guys. Cheers.